Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to go through the trades that I took last week. So I took a total of 3 trades. We had a shorter week. It was 4th of July. So the market closed on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and then it was closed on Thursday. So we definitely had a shorter week. We had Powell speaking. So there was a lot going on, very volatile, but I was able to catch some good trades that I called out in my Discord, and I recorded not only the trade, but I also recorded BOOKMAP for you guys. So you guys will be able to see exactly how I utilize BOOKMAP and how I use order flow so that you can implement it into your trading as well. All that being said, as always, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so the first trade that I'm going to go through is from July 1st. This was Monday, and this was a gap fill that I was watching with SPX. Now, I do post all of my live trades on Instagram as well, and I post them with my P&L. On this day, I made $21,267 on Monday, and I'll go through that with you guys. So, like I said, this was a gap fill trade, so we're going to go ahead and take a look. So this is a live video here. We go ahead and take a look here. This is the recording. So as you guys can see, SPX had gapped up from 54.60 to 54.70. So we had a 10-point gap fill down. So I was looking for SPX to break below 54.70 to be able to take that gap fill. I had a target of 54.65 and then the final target at 54.60. So I'm just going to forward this a little bit so you guys can see. Okay, so as you guys can see, it's coming down, holding that 54.70 level. Now, if we go ahead and look at BOOKMAP, so this was at 9:42. So if we go ahead and look at BOOKMAP at 9:42, so it's the BOOKMAP recording here. I'm just going to forward this. I entered this play at 9:46. So if we go ahead and look at BOOKMAP as well, for ES's BOOKMAP, ES had significant buyers sitting at around 55.30 and sellers sitting at 55.39 into 55.40. So I was looking for 55.30 to clear on ES to be able to buy puts on the gap fill on SPX. So if we go ahead and look at ES's chart here, you can see that I had that level at 55.30. So I was looking for it to clear the 55.30 level, not only on its chart, but you guys can see on that BOOKMAP as well for it to be able to clear that. Whoops. For me to take puts on SPX. So I actually wanted to see those orders at 55.30 get filled and sellers take control of the position. So like I said, I entered this play at 9:46. So I'm going to forward this to 9:46. All right. So, okay. So right here is when I entered, and I want to show you guys it get filled. I didn't forward it a little bit, so you might not see it, but I'm going to show you the 9:46 candle here. Okay, so this is 9:44. As you guys can see, this is the market pulse on BOOKMAP. So it shows you aggressive buying and selling pressure on both futures. This is the NASDAQ and this is ES. So we can see that we're not getting super aggressive selling pressure coming in just yet. Buyers are still present both on ES and the NASDAQ. So I want to see sellers take over the stock and be able to clear that 55.30 level. Okay, so this will forward in a second. Okay. So this is 9:46 here. You guys can see ES sitting at that 55.30. We filled in most of those orders here at 55.30. And there you go. It cleared the 55.30 level. At this time, I entered SPX puts at that. So you guys heard that order got filled at 9:46 as ES cleared the 55.30 level on BOOKMAP. And if we look here, this is the 9:46 candle. Okay, watch where the selling pressure comes in. Okay. Buyers tried to hold it up here slightly. So those orders hadn't gotten filled on BOOKMAP just yet. And right here, you'll start to see sellers step in on ES. There we go. There's a selling pressure. It cleared on BOOKMAP at the same time when I showed you guys. And look at NASDAQ. Selling pressure holding on the NASDAQ. I entered SPX puts at that time with the first target being 54.65 and then 54.60. ES had buyers sitting at 55.23 and 55.20. So those were the levels that I was looking for ES to bounce at. And you guys will see ES bounce right at 55.20 as we come down. You can see that when we're coming down on BOOKMAP, we're still getting aggressive selling pressure coming in. So these are the orders being filled here. You can see aggressive selling pressure still coming in. Buyers tried to step in, but we're not getting significant buying pressure coming in. You don't see aggressive buyers stepping in. And the same thing on Market Pulse. Aggressive buyers aren't stepping in. Sellers are still in control of the position here as we approach the first profit target of 54.65. All right. So let's just watch this play out. Both the NASDAQ and ES still have selling pressure. NASDAQ a little bit more. NASDAQ has been cleaner than ES over the past several months. So NASDAQ usually tends to have a lot more either selling or buying pressure when we are making a move. So we did try to bounce here at around 55.26 into 23. But you can see, again, not aggressive buyers stepping in. No aggressive buyers. So really no reason to exit this position yet. Okay. So it's still in the 946 candle here, waiting on this next 2-minute candle to open. So as you guys can see right here, we are approaching the first profit target. This is where I scaled out at 54.65, scaled out at 948 as it approached the 54.65. And you can see sellers are still holding, but buyers are starting to step in, and ES is approaching the 55.23. So I definitely want to scale out some of my position until we see it actually fully clear the 55.23 level. Okay, again, as we're looking on BOOKMAP, we're not getting aggressive buyers stepping in. So it's still holding to the downside. And you can see on SPX, the candles still look weak. Now we need to see SPX clear 54.65 and ES clear the 55.23 buyers. And you can see that now we're starting to approach the 55.23, still getting heavy selling pressure now coming in on ES, strong selling pressure. Actually, this is towards the end of this 948, yeah. Okay, so we're waiting for this next candle to come in. SPX taking some time to react. Still got the sellers stepping in on ES. No reason to exit this. Waiting on the next 2-minute open. There we go. Sellers step in. ES fills the orders at 55.23 here into 55.20. And that is that final target. And that is when SPX actually fills the entire gap. So right now we're trying to fill those orders at 55.23. Sellers take over the 55.23 level. SPX fills the gap. Strong selling pressure on both futures. And we get the gap fill. Now 55.20 was a strong level on ES. So I do scale out 90% of my position on this candle here. And we want to see if ES clears the 55.20 orders or not. And you can see it's kind of holding here slightly. Let's see if it clears the orders. So we're waiting. We're still weak on SPX. Still have the selling pressure on both futures. SPX almost done filling the gap. Let's see if ES fills the orders at 55.20. Now you can see we have significant orders sitting at 55.20, so it's going to struggle there. If we don't get huge selling pressure coming in, ES is going to struggle right here. I exit the rest of my SPX as it fills the end of the gap on that second target, and look at what ES does. Bounces at 55.20. Okay, wasn't able to fill those orders. And then what happens? We end up bouncing after that. Wicked right up on SPX. I scaled out at the bottom of that candle once it touched 54.60. And we ended up bouncing on ES as ES bounced off of the 55.20 level. That was my trigger to exit the rest of my SPX. And if we look here, 946, 948, 949, and 950 are my exits. And that was that 950 candle. Okay. So this is how I utilize BOOKMAP, and so this is how I utilize BOOKMAP's order flow with its market pulse to be able to enter and exit my positions. Not only enter and exit my positions, but really be able to identify profit targets on SPX while I'm watching ES. Or even if you're watching, for example, Tesla, or you're watching NVIDIA, you can watch the NASDAQ and ES again in order to identify levels where the stock has, where futures have significant buying pressure, or even the stock that you're watching, because you can watch any ticker on here, has significant buying or selling pressure sitting, waiting for those orders to get filled. So if you don't start to see, let's say it has buyers sitting to the downside, if you don't start to see aggressive sellers step in, it's more than likely going to either bounce at that level, reverse, or it's actually going to pull back at that level. 90% of the time it tends to pull back at that level before it's able to fully break and clear. All right, so the next trade that I'm going to go through with you guys is a trade they took the next day. So this was on the 2nd of July, Tuesday. This was when Powell was actually speaking in the morning right at 9:30, and SPX again had a gap to fill. So SPX actually had a upside gap to fill. So I was watching it above 54.65 to take the gap fill to 54.75. So literally the inverse of the levels. The gap fill did start at 54.63, but I always wait for the next significant level. So on this specific play, it was 54.65. 10-point gap up to 54.75. And if we go ahead and take a look at ES, I wanted to see ES clear the 55.20 and 55.25 level. This was the pre-market high, and I wanted to see it clear its VWAP as well, which right at open, ES bounced and cleared the VWAP level, and we were starting to get the move up. Target up on ES was going to be the 55.35 and 55.40 levels as SPX made the move. So let's go ahead and take a look at both Bookmap and the recording. And let me know if this is helpful for you guys to see it this way instead of how I was used to do it before. Like I said, I post the whole video on Instagram with my P&L. I made a mistake. On the second, I made $21,000, and on the first, I made $12,000. I was looking at the wrong date. Let me just double check so I don't give you guys. Yeah. So on the first, I made $12,000. On the second, I made $21,000. So let's go ahead and take a look. So I entered this play at 9:33. It was when Powell was talking, but SPX was making the move up, and I saw significant buying pressure on both futures. So I was comfortable entering the position. Okay, so this was really close to open. Okay, so we're on the 9:32 candle here, and I'm going to play this, and we're going to forward this a little bit to 9:30. Okay, so on ES had some sellers sitting at 55.25.26 area, so I wanted to see ES clear that. It cleared the 55.20 right at open, so this was the 9:30 candle. Right at open, we got buying pressure, so the next level up is going to be 55.27 that ES needed to clear to the upside for me to take calls on SPX. So I'm just going to forward this a little bit. Okay, so you can see those buyers now sitting at 55, our sellers sitting at 55.26 here, significant sellers sitting there. All right, now we're sitting at around 9:32. Okay, so this is the 9:32 candle. So you can see SPX is in that gap fill. So I did enter on this candle as it was pushing. This is the 9:33 candle. Now you can see here that we didn't have aggressive buyers yet. We had sellers still stepping in on both futures. So that was the one mistake I made. But if you look here, this was ES here filled those orders, and we started to see aggressive buyers start to step in on Bookmap. Even though we weren't seeing it here, we started to see those orders get filled, which is why I entered SPX calls. And you can see when I entered SPX calls, a seller stepped back in and it pulled back, and I'll show you why that happened, because I didn't wait for this order fully to go through from 55.26 to 55, almost 55.30. So you can see when it does pull back. Okay, let me move this so you guys can see. So you can see here that those orders at 55.27 didn't fully get filled when I entered. So I entered prematurely because I thought it was going to fill because we had strong buying pressure coming in, so I got caught in the retest. My stop on this was 54.65. You can see that this 2-minute candle held the 54.65 level. So really what we're waiting here for now is for ES to clear the sellers here. You can see that we have buyers holding at 55.20, so that was a stop on ES, with SPX's stop being at 54.65. I wanted to see this candle close, so I was waiting for it, and that is why we got stuck in the pullback. Now it's around 9:35. I think we're on the 9:34 candle. You'll start to see ES pull back, and why I hold this position, because these orders at 55.20 don't get filled, and it doesn't end up clearing that level, which is why I end up holding my SPX position through the pullback. Okay, so we're at 9:35. So you can see we're pulling back. Now I want to see ES hold the 55.20 level as we pull back. And even though we're pulling back, we're not getting strong sellers, strong orders getting filled. You can see it ended up holding here, which is why on the pullback, SPX didn't end up closing below 54.65. So I'm still in the position, obviously stuck in a pullback. Now we're just ranging on ES between the 55.20 and 55.28 into 55.30 level. So it just needs to clear either out. Obviously, I wanted it to clear to the upside, but as long as it holds these buyers hold the 55.20 level, you're still safe to stay in the position. So as you guys can see, it's just kind of ranging here for now, and SPX is holding right around that stop. Just going to forward this a little bit. Okay, and you guys can see Still holding around that 55.20 level. And we end up starting to see, there it goes, okay? So we held the entire time, these orders held. You can see around 55.22 even. We never were able to get close to that 55.20 level, which is why I ended up holding SPX. And you can see it kept wicking, and SPX wasn't able to close below the 54.65 level. Kept wicking there, and we ended up holding. Same thing with ES, and now you start to see the buyers come in, okay? Buyers start to come in, and we'll start to see buyers stepping in here on Market Pulse as well. This was a 936 candle, I believe. Closer to 938. Let me forward this a little bit. Okay, so there you go. Strong buying pressure coming in on both futures. Mostly ES, but strong buying pressure coming in. Stop held both on ES and SPX, and the 55.28. Look, those orders are getting filled. Slowly getting filled. Let's see if buyers take over. Buyers took over those orders at 55.28. And this was also when Powell was speaking, so there was a lot going on. And I ended up scaling out at 54.70 on SPX towards 939. Okay, and now I want to see ES clear 55.30, okay, for my next scale out. So you can see here, 938 is when I scaled out of SPX. Whoops. Okay, so this candle, 938, 939. And then so I scaled out 80% of my position at 938 and 939 as it pushed into that 21 EMA. The reason why I did that is sometimes SPX will reject at that 21 EMA. So I always tend to want to trade calls when it's trending above its EMAs and puts below its EMAs. So that's why I scaled out 90% of my position at 939 once it pushed into this EMA here. Also, it cleared my first profit target. And at this point, I'm only holding runners on SPX, okay? So we rejected on ES at that 55.30 level, which is why we're pulling back. So this was the pullback here, and now we're trying to bounce here. ES is still trying to fill the orders at 55.30. Those orders are starting to get filled here. This is towards the 939 candle. Sorry, this was before this. So this is the 939 candle where I scaled out most of my position. You can see ES cleared the 55.30. It's trying to hold, but we're not getting significant buying pressure here. And the next level up on ES is sitting at around 55.35, and this is when we pull back. Now, when we pull back, I want to see ES hold. I want to see these buyers hold ES up at 55.26, and it does. Okay, which is why I end up holding my runners on SPX. Okay, so the one good thing that I love utilizing BOOKMAP for is you can see here how this wicked down, but look at the buyers. Okay, buyers are still present. Even though SPX wicked down here, there were still buyers present. And even if it did wick down, we didn't have heavy selling pressure, okay? Buyers were still there. And if we look at ES, so this is the 938 into the 939 candle, I'm going to show you guys ES's BOOKMAP. Okay, this is 938. So we pulled back, pulling back, but it needs to hold these 55.23. If it holds that, we're still good. We're still good to stay in the position. Holds again. And look at what happens when we pull back, comes right back. So people end up getting wicked out here on SPX because they get scared, and they sometimes will end up being in a loss on it. But you can see overall on BOOKMAP, yes, it's still holding. Buyers are still there. Yes, we wicked down. We may have gotten a huge sell order, but overall, it's still holding. And look at this next candle opens right above that 54.70 level. And that ended up being my stop for the rest of my runners here. And you can see we ended up filling the gap all the way through to 54.75. Okay, and this was the final exit at this 940 candle. Okay, 940 into 9. So, and this was the final exit, the 941 candle, the 940 candle, as it pushed into 54.75. As it touched that final profit target, I was out. We did end up still continuing up on ES, but ES had sellers at 55.35, and that was my final profit target on that as well. And you can see we did pull back at that level. All right. So both clean gap fills on SPX, and you can see, look, even cleared 54.75, continued up, strong buying pressure coming in. Okay, so this is how I utilize BOOKMAP in order to, one, look for entry points, and then two, really look for profit targets. This helps me hold to my profit targets. This helps me to avoid getting shaken out or getting wicked out of positions. You can see how clean this gap fill was, even though it pulled back and it wicked down. BOOKMAP was showing me, order flow was showing me that buyers were still in control of that position, so there's no reason for me to exit that. Okay, there was no reason for me to cut that position yet. All right. The only reason I did scale out a lot quicker on this play is due to the fact that Powell was speaking. So I took this play while Powell was speaking, so I scaled out a lot quicker than I normally would have. So hopefully this was helpful, this recap. If you guys have any questions, please comment them down below. If you want to see more videos like this, please also comment them down below. All of my BOOKMAP links are below as well. If you want to sign up for BOOKMAP, I have a link below. If you want to sign up for our Discord, the link is also down below as well. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye.